One common way we use synthesis is to identify patterns across multiple texts. To synthesize across texts, we often start To synthesize across texts, we often start with the big picture, recognizing similar genres, themes, plot patterns, or characters. You can also use more specific details to build a synthesis, such as the speaker's voice or tonal patterns. The important thing is that you're looking across a series of texts and noticing patterns. It's about seeing texts in relationship to each other. If you can describe the conventions of the sci-fi genre, or of sitcoms, or of cooking shows, for example, if you can describe them in terms of common themes, settings, plot patterns, and character types, then you already have some experience with synthesizing across texts. If you can recognize the similarities and differences between Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, then you can synthesize across texts. We do this all the time, especially with genre fiction. We're able to recognize patterns and commonalities and express them in a way that explains the concerns or conflicts that are central to a group of texts. This is synthesis, and your assignment will ask you to practice this skill on a group of poems. You'll read 12 poems. Some of them are new and some you've seen before. Then you'll sort them according to the themes that you identify. The themes aren't predetermined for you. You'll need to use your explication skills to identify themes in each poem, and then look across the poems to determine where you see patterns. Which poems deal with similar concerns or express similar conflicts? Which poems have significant relationships to each other? And which are less connected? The fun thing about this activity is that it really depends on how you interpret the poems. 4 different people will likely have 4 different ways of organizing the 12 poems. So it's a great opportunity to practice that open-minded interpretation mindset that we've been talking about. After you sort the poems into themes, you will write a close reading analysis of the theme of your choice. So you'll choose one of your theme categories, explain the theme and how it works, and then close read 2 to 3 poems from that theme category. How do the poems address the theme? How do they approach it similarly? How do they approach it differently? You'll notice that this close reading is a little different from your earlier poetry explications and close readings because you're beginning with a predetermined topic. Rather than asking, what does the poem mean in general, you'll be asking, what does the poem say about X topic? That is, whatever theme you chose. So your close reading will be very focused on a particular idea. You'll end your synthesis with 2 things. First, an interpretive idea. After analyzing the 2 to 3 poems you chose, you'll need to come to a conclusion about what those particular poems say about your chosen theme and how they say it. You'll state this synthesized idea in 1 or 2 sentences. It should come at the end of your writing and should be clearly marked as your synthesis statement. Secondly, you'll write a brief reflection in which you'll practice identifying discourses across the texts. This connects back to your last module from Unit 1, so go back and review if you need to. For your reflection, you'll first identify the discourse community or communities of the texts you chose. Then identify and describe a dominant discourse and note which details from the texts support your conclusion. Finally, identify and describe a subversive discourse that you notice, and again, provide support from the texts.